Welcome to the Secret Math of Money. This show is meant for entertainment purposes only. I hold no financial certifications or information that is not generally available. No guarantees are stated or implied. It is your money, and you are responsible for any decisions you make regarding it.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Secret Math of Money. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sorry I'm doing it so late. I had a long trip that I had to take to say goodbye to a friend, and I'm back home. Right to the chase. This week's show. This is a show that I have been wanting to do for probably 6 or 7 years. Everybody who knows me knows I'm always talking about the 2007 financial crisis. It is crazy what happened. I'm going to try to explain it. It is not as boring as it sounds. Trust me. The 2007 financial crisis was crazy, and I feel like we need to understand it. What happened? So, let me get started. I got tons of notes on this thing. So, let's get started. First of all, you have the players. Now, little history for you who don't know. Back in 2007, we had a global financial collapse. Stock market crashed around the world. The government had to bail out companies. Here is what happened. We'll do it like this. First, you got two people who want to buy a house. Hey, Sherry, they want to buy a house. Bob and Carol. They go and get a mortgage for a house. They get a 2-year adjustable rate mortgage. Real simple. Got a low rate. After 2 years, the rate's going to spike up. Okay, but for that first 2 years, they got a low rate. That's one of the benefits of getting a 2-year mortgage or getting an adjustable rate mortgage, because you expect something to happen in those 2 years. Like maybe you're going to move or you want to refinance. So it's a way to lock in a low rate. I just want to explain. This is one of the reasons why people get adjustable rate mortgages. Okay, to lock in that low rate. Now, first thing happened. They get this, they go to company X. And oh, by the way, let me always say this beginning of the show. Everything I'm saying here is my opinion. Okay? I'm not going to try to plagiarize. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus. This is just from things I've read and seen. This is what happened. This is just my opinion. I'm not going to use any company names. But anyway, so Bob and Carol get a 2-year adjustable rate mortgage. Okay. What happens is after that first 2 years, their rate shoots up. And it might go from 3% to 8 or 9%. But as a result of that rate shooting up, their payment shoots up. So they might be paying $300 or $400 a month in a mortgage, and then all of a sudden, boom, their mortgage goes to 7 or 8, 9, 1,000, whatever. It just shoots up. So the goal is in that 2 years to do something, either sell the house, refinance into a fixed rate mortgage lower. So anyway, that's what they do. Okay. Now, what do? They go to this mortgage broker. Now, this mortgage broker says, okay, yeah, I'll give you the mortgage. Here's what's the first problem. A lot of mortgage brokers back in 2005 were selling what we call ninja mortgages. No job, no income. So basically, you could go to your to a mortgage broker and say, hey, I make $150,000 a year. I'm not going to show you a pay stub, but trust me. And the mortgage broker will say, well, based on that $150,000 that you say you make, we can give you a mortgage of X. Okay, you've shown them no paperwork. Okay, it was called the ninja mortgage. No job, no income. These were the mortgages they were actually giving people. Okay, so the mortgage broker gives, say, Bob and Carol, they get a ninja mortgage. Okay. The movie The Big Short and the book are really good. It goes into this. And there's one scene in there where there's a stripper, an adult entertainer, and she has 4 mortgages. Why? Because they're like, hey, how much you make? I make this. Oh, here's another mortgage. Here's the problem with this is with an adjustable rate mortgage or a fixed rate mortgage, more so with an adjustable rate mortgage, after 2 years, that rate shoots up, that payment shoots up. So again, you might be paying $150 a month for that first 2 years. And all of a sudden your mortgage goes up to $1,100 a month. Well, you can't pay it, and you know what's going to happen there. So, first question, why would a mortgage broker give Bob and Carol a 2-year adjustable rate mortgage with a balloon payment after 2 years with no income verification? From a business standpoint, that makes no sense. Why should I sell you a mortgage and I don't know if you can pay it back? Okay. The mortgage broker, let me back up a second. Now, we did a show on mortgages about 2 weeks ago, remember? And we talked about mortgages, how there's a principal and the interest. Your mortgage, to you it's your mortgage, to everybody else it's a receivable or it's an asset. Okay? They even go so far, and we won't get too far into this, but they break your mortgage up into that principal and interest, and your mortgage is a series of cash payments. That's what it is. So it's a receivable for the next 30 years. Your interest is one set of payments, and your principal is another set. So they can literally sell half of your mortgage to different people. Okay? That's a real issue when somebody refinances. I'm not going to really go into much about that, but if you refinance, it becomes a mess for one of those parties. The other party's cool. The one party got a mess. So, but anyway, what mortgage brokers were doing back in 2005, and they still do it. Anybody with a mortgage, you ever have all of a sudden, you get a notice that you go, by the way, now you are paying your mortgage to company X. You are paying this company, but no longer. You're paying that company now. Your mortgage has been sold. That's what happened. It's just the reality. Again, your mortgage is just an asset to the broker. It's just an asset. It's a series of cash flows. It's a series of cash payments over 30 years. So they sell your mortgage. Why would they do that? Because they can sell, if you have a $100,000 mortgage, they probably can sell it to somebody for $80,000. They get their 80 and they're out. That other person now has to collect that $100,000. They take on the risk of you defaulting or all these other kinds of things. There's all kinds of, they've got the math down. Trust me on that. So anyway, the mortgage broker is selling your mortgage. That's why they really don't care if you're ever going to pay it back or if you're going to default, because it's off their books. It's like if you see somebody who has a nice car, and you know somebody else who wants a nice car, a nice looking car. You don't know if that car runs or not, but you know this person just wants a car. So you're like, man, I'll buy your car from you. Maybe it's got the engine's bad, whatever. I'll give you $100 for that car. Cool. Bye. You don't care because you're going to sell it to this guy over here for $200. Okay. Instead of you putting those two people together, you just the middleman. So the mortgage brokers were writing mortgages like crazy on Monday. And Tuesday, they were packaging them up. Instead of one mortgage, they package up 10 mortgages. And they sell it to Wall Street. They're out. Okay? So if you default Thursday, they don't care. So their job is just to write as many mortgages. Now, why would they keep doing that? Another reason they do that, because they're getting a commission. When you look at your mortgage statement, when you sign all those papers, there's some numbers in there. I think one of them is commission. So they're making commission on everything they sell. So cool, they got their money and they're moving. Remember I said a couple of weeks ago, salesmen will sell what you pay them for. Question, Kevin Surratt, why does the new company take this risk from the broker? The new company is taking this risk. They have a $100,000 mortgage. It's over the next 30 years. Okay? They're going to, and here's the thing with the mortgage. Remember we did, and I did the show on mortgages. You're paying about 60% interest on this mortgage. You're not paying that 3% or whatever your rate is. If you look at what you are actually paying over time, you're paying about 60%. Okay? 60% of what, so if you got a $100,000 mortgage, you probably end up paying $162,000 over 30 years. So that company is making money. I mean, we're looking at one mortgage. Compound this by people have 1,000 mortgages. So $100 million in mortgages is going to bring in $162 million over the next 30 years. So yeah, it's beneficial to buy it. If you can buy that for $95,000, you can buy, over the next 30 years, I lock in money. And then what happens over the next 30 years, your mortgage gets sold 15, 20, 30 more times. Okay. So that's one reason why the mortgage brokers, why Wall Street, who are the people who would buy it from the mortgage brokers, that's one reason why they would do that, because they're getting it cheap. They're buying a cash flow. Okay. So, but good question, Kevin. Thank you. Oh, Kevin, Wayne said, hey, man, I saw him I stayed with them last night. Sorry, y'all. I digress. So anyway, that mortgage broker, remember what he or she is doing is writing as many mortgages as they can. If you guys remember back in 2005, the real estate market was blowing up. Realtors were saying the market, this is the stupidest thing. I remember when it was said. Yes, it's risk versus reward. Realtors said the housing market will never drop. I remember that. They were saying that. Realtors all over the country were saying the housing market will never drop. It's always going to go up. Okay? People were buying into it. So that mortgage broker, he's buying as many mortgages as he can. Okay? Because he's selling them. He's packaging them up and selling them as fast. They're coming through he's like the pass through. And he's skimming a little bit off the top. The more that passes through, the more he's skimming. He's just skimming his 2%. But 2% on 1,000 mortgages a day, that's a lot of money. And all you're doing is just you got a conveyor belt. You're just running them through, okay? So the mortgage broker has basically underwritten, I don't want to call it crap, but what's one step above crap? Here's the thing, and I'm a victim of this myself. When I built my house in 2006, it was in the same situation. I thank God I made it through it. But they were writing mortgages for anybody, just about anybody. Again, those ninja mortgages, no income, no job verification. You just tell them what you make, and they would give you a mortgage. Okay, so, and the reason being because they were going to sell them as soon as they could, so they were just running this stuff through. Now, these mortgages would get on Wall Street, and Wall Street, they would be sold to Wall Street brokers. They would be sold to investment bankers. Investment banker would come along, and he'd go to company X and say, I want to buy $200 million in mortgages. What do you got? And they would package those mortgages together, $200 million in mortgages, a big old block. And they would put that block on sale. They would let investors buy, investing into that block. Because remember, that block is still 30 years of cash flows. That's what they're buying, 30 years of cash flows. Okay? I talked about it a second ago. I'll tell you real quick. When they split that mortgage into interest and principal, they split it into two different packs. When you refinance your mortgage, one of those goes away. The people that bought the interest portion, when you refinance, it gets shut off. So it is valueless. It is worthless at that point. The people who have the interest or have the principal payment, they get paid off right then. Instead of over the long term, they get paid off right then. But the people who had the interest part, it goes away. So there's a lot of risk. Okay. So that's a side point. And I'll probably go into that another time. But anyway, so Wall Street takes these mortgages. Now these mortgages have different value. And what I mean is some of them are more risky. There are some people, not everybody who got a mortgage in 2005 was a risk. I take that back. Everybody, there is a certain level of risk in any mortgage, any transaction. But some people, not everybody was in a situation where they were more likely to default. There's levels, who's more likely to default? The stripper who's got 4 mortgages and had no income verification, or the solid working person who's got a job, who's got their mortgage. Okay, so those mortgages, there's the likelihood. Same reason some people, your credit rating. If you go to a bank to get a loan, you go to get a credit card. Depending on your credit rating, you pay a higher interest rate than some other people. Why do you think some cards can charge you 30% interest and some cards are charging 10% interest? Because those cards that charge 30%, those credit cards are taking a bigger chance in their case because the likelihood of default is higher. It's not saying you will default, but they'll say, historically speaking, people with a credit rating of 402 have a higher likelihood of defaulting than people with a credit rating of 870. Okay, so people with a credit rating of 402, you're going to pay more. Why? You're going to pay us for that risk. You're going to pay us more for taking on more risk. A sure thing, you look at government bonds. Why do government bonds usually have low returns? Because they're pretty much guaranteed by the government. So there's very low chance that they will default. So they have a low interest rate. That's the risk, as Kevin pointed out, it's the risk and reward. You want the higher reward, you got to take higher risk. Okay? You want something that's got a stability, going to have a low return or low risk, it's going to have a very low return. That's just the nature of the game. Okay? Trying to figure out the risk and return. So anyway, I digress. I'm sorry. So the investment banker takes this $100 million in mortgages, and he's got a box of them. He then goes to a credit rating agency because they put a letter. It says A plus, double A, AB, A whatever. Based on that credit rating, the investment banker can charge more. The value of that increases. So if it's a double A prime, it would have a bigger value. So it would cost people more money to get in. It's just like with stocks. Stocks go up and down based on the riskiness of the company that the stock is a part of. Okay. So these credit rating agencies will rate the likelihood of this asset, this group of assets. Now that is just one big ball of mortgages. So if you have great credit, you are in a position to negotiate a lower interest rate. Yep, Kevin, in most cases, that's absolutely true. I'm not going to make that blanket statement, but in most cases, yes. If you have good, that's the reason you want good credit. Because when you go to the bank to get a car loan or something, you can get better rates. You can shop around town because you got a good credit rating. But that's exactly why. So the investment banker gets a credit rating of their asset. Then they go to Wall Street and they might be able to charge double or whatever, but they can charge more for people investing in that asset because of that credit rating. Okay. Now, remember those credit rating agencies are supposed to look into that asset, look and see what the underlying mortgages in that asset are. Based on those underlying mortgages, determine the risk that those mortgages will fail and give it a rating. So now go back a few minutes ago when I talked about Bob and Carol who got their mortgage. They got a 2-year adjustable rate mortgage. So in 2 years, their rate's going to shoot up. Well, maybe they got a ninja mortgage where they didn't have to show any income or any job verification. Or maybe they got 4 ninja mortgages, okay, where they don't have to show anything. In 2 years, their payment might go from $150 a month to $1,150 a month. What do you think is going to happen? Think about if you had a car note and your car note was $300 a month. And then in a year and a half, it shoots up to $1,700 a month. You're going to take that car back to the bank. You are going to turn the keys in. Take that. Think about that with a house. Okay. When your mortgage shoots up and you're like, I can't pay this. Okay. What do you think is going to happen? So remember that thought. So now the credit rating agencies, going back over to the investment banker, evaluates those assets and puts a letter on them. Then gives them to Wall Street. Okay. And then gives them back to the investment banker. And then he sells them to companies. Companies can buy mortgages and sell them all over the place. And they have them as an asset, a receivable on their books. Okay. And they can look when they do their yearly reviews, their yearly report. They say, yes, we have $2 billion in mortgages. They're A-prime mortgages. So we have very low chance of these mortgages blowing up in our face. People defaulting on these mortgages. So now these are assets on their books. What do companies do with assets? One of the things they do with assets is they use them as collateral to get loans. So you say you go to your company G and you have $200 million in mortgages on your books as an asset. You go to a bank, say, I need $200 million. And they say, well, what's your collateral? These $200 million in A-prime mortgages. This is my collateral. Give me the money. The bank says, oh, A-prime? We got that. Bam, here's your money. Company G says, fine, I got $200 million in cash. Hey. And they go out and they go buy stuff, whatever. They pay them back their loan over time, but their loan, the collateral for their loan are those $200 million in mortgages. Okay, that's how the system kind of sort of works. I left out a whole lot of details, but that's basically how it works. Go back to Bob and Carol. 2 years into their mortgage goes from $300 to $1,700. They can't pay it. Multiply that by a couple of 100,000 people. All of a sudden, they can't pay their mortgage. Okay? That asset that was their particular mortgage, who's probably been sold to 4 or 5 different companies, all of a sudden they default. Well, okay, but the rating agency should have looked into these mortgages, these packs of mortgage. They call them tranches, but I didn't want to throw another word in and have everybody all messed up. The rating agency should have taken that into account. They say, well, yeah, there's no guarantee for 100% success, but with these A-prime mortgages, we suspect that maybe only 1 or 2 or 3% of these mortgages will default. Okay. What happens is if instead of 1 or 2 or 3%, what happens if 20%? What happens if 30% of the mortgages in this box of mortgages default? Because 2 years in, everybody's mortgage rate shot up because these people got these adjustable rate mortgages, and 2 years in, they can't pay them. And all of a sudden, everybody defaults. Okay? This A-prime group of mortgages, you got a problem because you sold it as this, it's really this. Okay, how does that happen? How could that happen? The rating agencies were supposed to look in and they have, but what if they didn't actually look into those mortgages? What if they trusted the investment banker when he or she said, these are A-prime mortgages. These are all top grade, top choice, A quality mortgages. And they said, okay, hey. What if they never looked in the mortgages? Go back to that movie, The Big Short. There's 3 or 4 people around the world who made a ton of money when the markets collapsed. What did they do? They actually looked at the mortgages and they realized there's a problem. That the rate of collapse could possibly be a lot higher than everybody thought, and it could collapse the whole system. Okay, let me jump over to something else, and I meant to say this a few minutes ago. So, okay, the investment banker, he has this pack of mortgages that he sold to Wall Street. Remember that. Now, who is ever going to imagine that the whole system will collapse all at once? Nobody's ever going to imagine that. That can never happen. So then there's this company comes in with 3 letters in their name. I'm not going to say who they were, but they were real famous. They sell what's called insurance, but it's not really it's not called insurance, but it is insurance. Here's the thing. Think about this with life insurance. I cannot go buy life insurance on any of y'all. Sister Harden, Christina Wade. Yep, that's the name there, but I wasn't going to say it. I can't buy life insurance on none of y'all because then I have a vested interest in, frankly, in killing you. So, the law says, you just can't go and buy life insurance on random people because homeless people would have a whole lot of life insurance on their bodies, okay? This company was selling a product that looked like insurance, smelled like insurance, quacked like insurance, but wasn't insurance. Because if you call it insurance, then all of a sudden a lot of laws kick in about what you can do, how much you have to hold in cash, and all these other kind of rules you have. Wasn't insurance. So this investment banker sells this product to companies, or he sells this set of mortgages in a mutual fund to different his clients, and then he takes out insurance on it that if it collapses, he's going to get paid. He's betting that it will collapse. Taking out insurance just in case. Okay. Now, $200 million in mortgages. This company, who shall remain nameless, they're like, well, the premium on that is $25 million a year. It's like, okay, here. So they're like, well, wait, we can get this $25 million for insuring this thing that will probably never happen. It's like if you took a life insurance out on Methuselah. Okay. Dude ain't gonna die. Okay. But then they're like, well, all these people want to buy life insurance on Methuselah. And all these people are willing to pay us $25 million a year to buy life insurance on Methuselah. You know, it's like buying crash insurance on the Titanic. That ain't going to happen. So this company just selling it like crazy. Why? Because they're just making money hand over fist. Ain't nothing happen. They're like, oh, yeah, we're insuring it. Man, give me the money. Give me the money. Because it ain't going to happen. So we're just making all this premium, free money. So they're insuring everything they can get their hands on. And all the brokers are just buying, you know, just, here, take it. Here, I want to show this. I want to show that. I want to show my homeboy's thing over there. I want to show this dude's thing over there. Okay? Now, think about that a minute. If I buy life insurance on Methuselah, what I'm going to do tomorrow? I'm going to go find a way to kill Methuselah. Okay? The investment bankers put these packs together, these $200 million in mortgages, set to blow up. How you do that? When the stuff comes in, you got A, B, and C. You make the A into this group, B into this group, C into this group. Well, once you get rid of all the A stuff, well, yeah, you got this B and C stuff. Well, you can't make as much money off selling that. So what do? You rebrand the B stuff as A stuff. Boom, sell it as A stuff. And then you run out of all that stuff. Then what do? You rebrand the C stuff as A stuff. And you sell all that off, okay? So now there is crap floating around, all labeled A prime. Okay, it's like a bunch of steaks, and you got the ugliest parts of the meat, but you call it A prime. Okay, you got a half horse, half mule, A prime. Okay, you know, what is it? Every once in a while, a fast food place get caught putting horse meat in the meat and stuff like that. But here's beef. Okay, so some investment bankers were building products that would crash intentionally because they wanted to get the insurance off of it, because insurance would make them whole again. Okay, they're selling this to their clients, telling their clients, "This is good stuff. This is dope. You know, if you play it, you got no problems." You remember a couple weeks ago we talked about the fiduciary rule, where brokers have to sell clients. They have to offer clients products that are in their best interest, not just products that fit. Okay, this is a case of a product that was not necessarily in your client's best interest, but it fit because your client had some money. Okay, running around. So you got to hear all these pieces are working together. So Bob and Carol, they default on their mortgage. Them and 100,000 other people. This pack of $200 million in mortgages. That's A prime. 30%, random number. All of a sudden collapses. This thing is a mess now. It's not worth what it was because people didn't expect 30% to collapse. They expected 2% to collapse. Boom, 30% collapses. Now this thing is not worth it. Okay, it collapses, it falls apart. The investment banker goes to AIG. Yo, give me my money, give me my $200 million. The company whose name I said and I shouldn't have said, but they may have insured a $200 million pack of mortgages for $200 billion because everybody came to them buying stuff. So when this one thing collapsed, all of a sudden their payout is like Methuselah died and 100,000 people had $100,000 life insurance policies on Methuselah. And bam! All of a sudden, you got a whole lot of money to pay and you got nothing in your pockets. That's one problem. The other problem, companies had these mortgage buckets on their books as assets. They had loans against these companies. They had loans with this bucket of mortgages as collateral. Now they got no collateral. So the bank is like, yo, money, player, remember that car you left in the backyard to that fly BMW 7 Series with the leather, and I gave you $50,000 in the loan, and that's the collateral? Well, your money, ain't no engine in that car, man. Either give me my money back or come up with something else. You ain't got nothing. That's the other thing. All of a sudden, these companies are being called. Their balance sheets are a cluster, to put it nicely, because a ton of their assets disappeared. Okay, boom. Now all of a sudden, you got assets and liabilities. Your assets drop like crazy, and all of a sudden you got a problem. Those are the two things that happen. This company that did all this insurance couldn't pay it back. So all the people that had taken out insurance against these things collapsing, when they collapse, they're like, yo, can you give me my money? And they're like, bruh, we ain't got no money. And they're like, what you mean you ain't got no money? We ain't got no money. Didn't you hold some in reserves? Nah, money, we had to hold none in reserves. Law don't say we had to. So now you got a mess. This is really what happened. So these companies all of a sudden had assets that were $200 million at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 11:30 it was zero. Okay. Again, best book in the world, The Big Short. Read that book. The movie's good. The book is excellent, but it goes into a lot of this. Okay, so that's basically what happened. It wasn't any, and here's the thing, none of the stuff was illegal. It wasn't any individual thing. It was like the perfect storm of finances. All happened at once. The people who made out like bandits, they did one simple thing. In 2005, they looked at the bucket of mortgages and they were like, yo, this is going to blow up in 2 years when everybody's rate jumps. These people can't pay this stuff. And they bet that the mortgages would blow up. But they bet on the front end. They bet that the mortgages blew up. All of a sudden, everything flipped and they were worth billions. Guys made a ton of money they bet against the market because they saw what was going to happen. It's like you see the car running down the street screaming, you see the brick wall, and everybody's like, oh, it's not a brick wall, it's just a painting. And you're like, yeah, that's a brick wall. And they're like, no, don't worry about it, it's a painting. You're like, all right, I'm going to go buy insurance and tires and stuff because everybody going to hit that brick wall and they're going to need new tires. Okay? How could this have been prevented? This is the part, and it took me going through this to realize who in my opinion, could have stopped this. And it was simple. The gatekeepers to keep this mess from getting from the bad mortgages from getting into Wall Street unlabeled or mislabeled, the rating agencies. The rating agencies, as a matter of fact, a lot of them got sued. And their response was, our ratings are just opinions. They're not law. They're not fact. So we can't be held accountable for our opinions. Okay? They got off the hook. After this big collapse, so that was when the government had to step in with $7 trillion because this company that sold this insurance couldn't pay anybody back. And because they couldn't pay anybody, because they had so many creditors all over the place, everything was collapsing. So I forgot which company basically got shut down. Their stock went to zero. But basically it was like the sacrificial lamb, let them die, and we'll save the rest of y'all. Okay? Because if they don't we didn't save the rest of them. And I don't like the bailout, but I understand why we had to do it. Why we had to bail out companies. Because then you get domino effect. It affects all over the place. Okay? So, in a nutshell, this is really what happened. It started with Bob and Carol getting a mortgage that they probably shouldn't have gotten because the guy who sold it to them was going to resell it to somebody else, so he didn't care how bad it might have been. The person he sold it to didn't. They talked to the rating agencies and said, hey, trust me, this is good stuff. The rating agency said, yes, it's good stuff. Then they sold it to Wall Street. People on Wall Street bought it as a receivable, put it on their books as assets, got collateral against it, borrowed money against those assets. The brokers that were selling it to the clients as well as the companies were betting against them. That's why that fiduciary rule comes in. You can't sell your client something that you know is going to blow up. Okay. So that's it. That is really what happened on Wall Street. Nothing was illegal. Was there a way to not get caught up in that? Because a lot of people lost a lot of money. Here's the thing. Everybody, I remember 2005, everybody knew the market was going to crash. Everybody knew that the housing bubble was going to burst. Everybody, they were talking about it. The housing bubble, the housing bubble. Bubbles pop. So it wasn't a secret that the housing market was going to have a problem. A lot of people tried to play it right to the end and get out at the last minute. But by the time they got out, it was too late. I got out about 3 months early. I pulled money out of the market and said, I'm going to sit this one out and wait and see what happens. I wasn't clairvoyant. I wasn't brilliant. I'm just everybody talking about a market bubble. Let me sit back and wait. You know, I may lose some short-term returns, but when that market collapsed, I was like a piranha on that stuff. So anyway, not brilliant or nothing like that. It's just common sense. So again, everything I said, this is my opinion from things I've read, the research I've done. This is what happened. This is how complicated this was. Remember, these people were the smartest people in the room. That was my dream to do that episode, believe it or not. I'm a geek nerd weirdo. I love talking about this stuff. So anyway, everybody, all my friends, thank you so much for tuning in, sticking in there with me. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another show. I'm not exactly sure what topic I'm going to do, but I thank you. I hope you found this not only entertaining, I hope you found it informative to understand what happened. That's all I want you to do. From my perspective, this is what happened. This is very high level. There was all kinds of little weird stuff in the middle, but this is the high level what happened. And it took me, 35 minutes to explain it. And this has been the most enjoyable 35 minutes I've had in a while because I'm weird and geeky like that. But anyway, everybody, again, I just thank you for sticking in there with me. I tried to make it entertaining because it can get dry, but I tried to make it entertaining. But my goal with this show, and I'm not gonna ramble, but my goal with this show is not to just inform people about things. It's to make you curious. It's to make you go and do your own research and find out about things for yourself. So hey, everybody, thank you again. I'll be putting this on YouTube probably later on tonight, the whole thing in its glory. Should be going up. I'm trying to get it go up to iTunes, and I'm having issues with that. So, but everybody, thank you for sticking in with me. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care, and we will talk again soon. Bye-bye.